audio and video, or is it a call-in?
He is unmuted. So Barb, can you?
Yes. Are you ready to start?
Hi.
Hello.
Well,
Let's give it another 10 seconds.
Okay. And I know that Barry said he may not be able to get in. He just got home last night.
Yes,
but he's gonna
YouTube is
try.
live, so the meeting is all yours.
Thank you.
Okay. All
Brian.
right. I will. Are you ready then?
We're ready,
yes,
Barb.
ma'am.
Okay. I'll like to call the meeting to order, and we need Cindy probably to take roll for us
Barbara Garbett,
here.
Jason Pernick,
Here.
David Scott,
Here.
Barry Hiscox is absent. Shane Lackner,
Here.
Judy Sternberg is absent. Betsy LaFond.
Here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We need an approval of the agenda, please.
I make a motion. Shane makes a motion to approve the agenda.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, we have to do individual.
Jason?
Yeah, we have to do a roll call.
Yeah.
Cindy, is it easier for me if I do it or?
Whichever you prefer, whatever you prefer. Do you want me to do it or no?
That would be wonderful.
Well, the record should reflect that the second was by Betsy.
Thank you.
Lackner,
Yes.
is that an aye? Can you hear me?
Yes.
LaFond,
Yes.
Garbett,
Yes.
Pernick,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
motion
All-
carried.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We need approval of the minutes of the previous meeting.
I
Betsy?
move we approved the minutes, but I have one question. We had written that Barb and Barry arrived at 7:15. Can we make a notation that it was due to technology issues? Or do we not do that in a formal meeting like this?
I don't know why we
It-
couldn't.
It's in the roll call, and it looks like, that Barb, you came in at 7:15, but if I recall correctly, there was technology problems.
Yes.
Yes.
Would you like me to do that?
Yes, please.
Okay, I will.
All right. With that addition, Betsy, do you still approve the
They're
minutes?
they're all set. Yes.
All right. Do we have a
Yeah.
second?
Approve them.
Lackner will second.
All right. Shane seconds. Okay, Cindy, you want to take roll again?
LaFond,
Yes.
Lackner,
Yes.
Garbett,
Yes.
Pernick,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
motion carried.
All right. We, public comments. I know we have somebody who wishes to make one. Rusty Rossman. Can we figure out how to get her in to speak?
So it looks like we have two people who have called in.
Yes,
Well-
and if either one would like to make a public comment, just press *9 to raise your hand, and then I will call on you and you will be prompted to press *6 to unmute. Okay, and it looks like we have one person who would like to make a comment.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Rusty, R-U-S-T-Y, Rossman, R-O-S-M-A-N, and I would like to speak to the issue that was brought up at the Board of Trustees meeting a few weeks ago regarding using money from the library millage to help pay down a debt that the DDA has, asking to borrow money from the township to pay down that debt. 42 years ago, I worked on the very first millage for the library. And when I went to, and the reason I did that is when I went to the township, I met with Bob Long my very first time, and he explained to me that the legislature in that year, which was 1978, had recently passed a law that said that if you purchase library service from another community, You must have your own millage. Excuse me while I cough. That one likes me. And we were not allowed to use general funds to do so. It had to be a designated millage that was for the library and the library only. I'm happy to say that it passed. That was our beginning. It was 0.3 mils. And then a couple of years later, we went back for 1.0 mils. And 40 years later, we opened the library. All that money was saved according to the way that the millage was written and the expectation of the citizens of Commerce. I want to go on record, along with several other people I know that I've shared this with, that we are vehemently opposed to anybody within the township going into the millage dollars that are set, that are belong to the library and moving them elsewhere. I do believe it is not allowed by state law. And I wanted to let you know that as a regular citizen, and I love the library, please do not touch a single penny of library money to pay for something else in the township. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Rusty.
You're welcome.
I believe there's now, thank you for your comments. There's another person that would like to speak. Are we waiting for that other person?
We don't have the other person's hand is not raised. So it
Oh.
may,
Yes, if the other person would like to make a comment, they just need to press star 9. No hands are raised at this time.
Okay. Well, then we'll go on with the meeting and go to the financial report, please, Allison.
okay. In your board packets, I included the revenue and expenditure report for the library fund for the period ending on August 31st. So we are now 66.7% of the way through the fiscal year, or we were as of August 31st. And we have spent 51.6% of our budgeted funds. So I would predict at this point in the year that, you know, we will likely finish the year under budget due to the significant disruption that is COVID. We're not spending as much as we budgeted for on a lot of things because we're offering limited services right now. But we continue to purchase the materials that our patrons are coming to the library for. So both the electronic materials and the print materials. And we're still doing programming. It's just limited and a little bit different than what we're accustomed to here at the library, since we're not doing in-person programming. Do you guys have any questions about anything specific on the revenue and expenditure report?
Anyone?
No?
Okay. Then we'll, God, that's mine, I think. No, it's not. It's not. Then Allison, would you like to go on with your director's report?
I would, yes, thank you. Okay, so in terms of the last month at the library, we finalized and hired Chell Robinson, who started in their new position here at the library last Monday, September 14th. They graduated with a Master's of Library and Information Science from Wayne State just this last May. And so we're really excited to have Chell on our team. Chell will be a children's librarian and is fitting in famously already. So we're really excited to have them on our team. We also this month opened up our drive up window. So that has been a really, really popular service already. Patrons are still kind of getting used to the rhythm of it. It's kind of a different procedure. We're asking that people call us before they come up to the library so that their materials that are on the hold shelf, that we can move them back to the drive up window so that we're not causing any sort of a traffic jam. Because if someone stopped at the drive up window, they are blocking passage through if someone's dropping off books at the return. But it's working out really well, and I think it's only going to grow in popularity. Bill Wines, who's our head of circulation, noted to me just this weekend that he says about 50% of the cars who come through have a dog in their car with them. So that pleases us. The staff are really enjoying learning, meeting our patrons' dogs. So that's very fun. Also this month, the same day that we opened up our drive up window, the Neighborhood Library Association, of which we are a part, rolled out its 2020 selection. So we're reading a book called Kent State for Dead in Ohio. And it's a graphic novel, which we were talking about just before the meeting, Supervisor Scott. So it's a graphic novel for adults. It's nonfiction. Topic.
Watch it, Dave.
And yeah, Barb's reading it right now. She told me recently.
Okay.
So we buy multiple copies of this book. We encourage everyone in the community who's interested to read it. We do some programming that supports it. And then at the end, we invite the author to come speak. So unfortunately this year it will be a virtual visit, but on November 14th, we'll have a Zoom visit from the author, and patrons from all 7 of the member libraries of the Neighborhood Library Association are welcome to join. So if you guys are interested, let me know. I will get you a copy of the book and I can get you signed up. But it's a really neat opportunity. It's pretty expensive to bring in a nationally known author to come in and speak. So because the 7 of us libraries work together, and it allows us to do that we wouldn't be able to do otherwise. The Township Board, I met with the Township Board of Trustees on September 15th. So about a week ago at their special meeting to discuss the budget, and they did approve the budget with a few minor changes, and we can touch on that further along in the agenda. And then lastly, just wanted to make a note that our wonderful Ben has been really busy helping us expand some of our different internet-based services during this very strange time of COVID. So Ben got the library an exterior Wi-Fi access point. So essentially that will be a Wi-Fi access point like we all have in our houses, but it will go outside of the building to beam our internet a little bit further into our parking lot, and hopefully all the way out even to the pavilion in Dodge Park, so that people who are working outside or working from their car will be able to have a stronger signal and have a better experience when they're doing that. Ben has also helped us secure some Wi-Fi hotspots for us to circulate for our patrons. So these are just a small little square box, and it's essentially a cell phone signal that you can hook your computer up to, or an iPad, so that if you were away from home or away from somewhere with Wi-Fi, if you were perhaps up north hunting, Supervisor Scott, you'll be able to access the internet. Maybe you can attend some township board meetings. You never know, so that you can participate, with a pretty reliable signal. So those are through T-Mobile, and we'll circulate to the patrons. We're still getting those ready to go out, but we'll have them for patrons. We're thinking we're going to do a 2-week checkout for those, so that people have a little bit of extra internet power if they need it, if they're traveling, if they've got multiple kids who are studying or doing virtual learning and things like that. So we're really excited to add those to our collection. And that's all I have for my report. Did you want me to move to library statistics, Barb?
Yes, why don't you go right ahead?
Okay. So in August, you guys have the list of all of our statistics, but we did have we're at a daily average of about 174 people who are in the building during the day, which is definitely quite a bit lower than what we're used to. But people are, it seems people are kind of getting out and about and adding the library into their modified life routines right now, to the extent that they are comfortable. So some people will, are still just most comfortable using the curbside and or drive up window, and we're so excited to be able to offer that to them. But we do have computers available for use, and there are certain patrons who come in every day or close to every day to use the computers. And our digital resources and our print resources, remain, really popular. That's people come into the library for those services and for our really awesome staff. So we are doing okay at the library, that's for sure. Moving down on the agenda, should I continue on, Barb?
Yep, may as well keep going till we get to old business.
Keep going until I get tired. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
So next, I have 2 reports for you guys from Trista and from Cherie on summer reading in 2020. So summer reading in 2020 certainly is not summer reading in a normal year. I know staff were really frustrated because they've been working so hard over the last 7, 8, 9 years, and they've every year that they've grown summer reading, and this year obviously there was not growth. We didn't, normally we would start summer reading at the beginning of June, and at that point we didn't even have patrons in the building. So everyone's routine is disrupted right now, and summer reading is not an exception. What staff did was wonderful. They did a great job. They did the youth and the adult staff plan out summer reading 8, 9 months ahead of the summer. And so they had to pivot really quickly and sort of start from scratch while they were working from home. So I'm really impressed with what they did and how they adapted during all this uncertainty. And, even while we were at home, we didn't know what it was going to be like when we returned back to work. So I'm really proud of them for that. And I'm proud of them, for continuing to offer summer reading in a way that was accessible and it was safe. And the kids who participated, had a wonderful time, and they got a great prize, and and it encouraged them, and we kept them in their books. So they, continued to be involved with the library and continuing to read throughout the summer. So, and still doing programming as just modified, just through the computer. And I do think, part of the reason for that drop, obviously COVID, but I think there's a little bit of, by the time June rolled around, we were 3 months into this, 2.5 months into this big change in our lives. And there was a little bit of digital fatigue. These kids had been doing a lot of different activities and meeting with their classmates and having, Zoom birthday parties. And when it got nice out, I think that kids, they did a lot of, they took advantage of being able to be outside too. So
I
I'm
think
really
they were
excited.
all in Scarlett's Park.
They were, yeah, very true. They were all in
Yes.
Scarlett's Park, sometimes all at once.
Yes.
So, so this year obviously is definitely a change from what the staff are used to in terms of the summer reading offerings. I'm really excited for us to get past COVID and to see them build it back up. Because summer reading is a big highlight of our year. So we are gonna get it back to where it should be, hopefully next summer. Fingers crossed.
Yes.
Fingers crossed for a vaccine. Next thing I have for you guys are the youth and adult service, or the adult services and youth services programs. For adult programming last month, it was all virtual. We did a couple of history programs, and we did those in conjunction with other libraries, the Joan Rose Kennedy program and one about Lincoln. So it was an actor who acted it out on Zoom. It was very cool, and apparently very funny. And then we had a gardening expert, Mike Nowak, who brought us to his garden in Chicago, which is cool. So I think the really nice thing about programming, virtual programming, is that we can do things that we wouldn't necessarily be able to do, using this virtual platform. So, when we had the woman who's a pastry chef in France, and she did a program, or, Mike Nowak lives in Chicago and he walked us through his garden using Zoom. I mean, there are some benefits, and I think it's going to be really interesting to see how patrons and how libraries adapt when we're able to do in-person programming in the future. If we continue to do some programs virtually, if all programs have a virtual component, I think this will definitely reflect a sort of change in how libraries do programming. And I would just say, we have patrons who are participating who have little kids and things, who wouldn't be able to come into a library program, but they can have their laptop on and they can listen in or learn in, where they wouldn't be able to otherwise. So that's really exciting, and I'm excited to see that grow. In August, also brought back our Richardson Center Book Club. We did that at the end of August 26th, and they just had their second meeting today. So Marika Zemke, our former head of adult services, is returning to be our moderator for that. So that's really exciting. That is also a virtual book club. But it's fun to get the old gang back together and they're reading, and it's been really good. And in terms of the youth programs, I am, just looking at these, you can see all the programs that are designated as a kit. So essentially what people do is they reserve basically all the supplies they need to do a craft or an activity, and then they pick it up during the designated day and they do it on their own time. And those are consistently, I don't know that we've had one that hasn't filled. So that's really fun, and it's a really cool way for us to reach those kids and to stay involved in their lives, even if they're not coming in and being able to sit with us and do those crafts. The youth department has, done a really good job researching things that are, that don't require a ton of supplies, but are something different for the kids and something engaging. And, then the parents aren't having to run around and find, like 10 buttons and, a green pencil and all of these things. So we're putting those things together for them. And the families are often sending in pictures of the kids with their completed crafts, and it's really fun to see. So those have been really successful.
Anybody want to say anything?
Any questions?
Okay, well then we'll move on to old business, which is the budget for 2021. So
Yeah,
do you
so
want-
as I mentioned in my report, the township board last week, they sat down and we looked at the library's budget for 2021, and they did approve what you guys had approved at our last meeting, with a couple of changes. One change being to salaries and wages. They did vote to give me a raise, which was very kind of them.
Well deserved.
Thank you. They, under capital purchases, the township board made a change there. They dropped that amount from 80,000 to 70,000. They decided that they wanted to wait on the generator and not do it next year. I think that decision was mostly made in the spirit that, things feel pretty uncertain right now. So they thought, it's better to put the money in the bank than to invest in that generator. So we'll look to do that in the future. And then the only other change is that I asked Janet Bushy to break out the amount of money that we're spending on overdrive into its own line item. So that's at the very, very bottom of the expenditures there. So it's $53,000. I had budgeted 43 and you guys added 10, or 41 and you guys added 12. Maybe, I think you guys added 12 at that last meeting. So I just broke that out. The reason being that it's a really costly service. So to help us keep a better eye on it, but it's also one that's really, really popular, and it's important that we spend the money on that. The demand for downloadable items seems to have no bottom, and so we could put twice as much money on into overdrive, and we would still have people holding for items. But this represents a really good jump, a really great investment, especially in a time where if the library were to have to close again, or we couldn't have people in the building and we were only serving them curbside or through the drive-up window. A way to get people the books that they're wanting to read, and in a format that's really convenient. So those are the changes there.
Okay, thank you. That's it?
That is all I have for the.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we have anything under new business? Dave, I don't know, I know you're going to say some remarks, but I would like to speak on what Rusty Rossman said. I understand that the money the township is talking about is not dedicated from a vote by the citizens, but it is about 33% of our budget. And that's an awful lot of money to think about taking away from our library. And the whole thing is, what happens in 2 years if we try to renew our millage for the library? And if it fails, what do? Close and leave the library, that building, empty? I think no matter what anybody in this community says, the library is the center of our community at this point. I go in every day, either there or to Scarlett's, and people are everywhere. They're meeting there, they're coming to the library. And it's just, to me, a crime, even though the money is not dedicated, it comes from another source, which you can explain to us, but it's wrong. I'm sorry, it really upsets me. Okay,
If I could share, Barb, and I think to try and set minds at ease, I too, I invited Rusty to participate. I too would be happy to set aside a position and support the library and the charter library funds, the 0.3 mil. The reason that this came up in a discussion, and I think it was used only by Treasurer Phillips as an example. It wasn't an intent, but I think it was taken as very much an intent. We were talking about different topics, and the adjusters request to determine where money came from and to better categorize our budget. And of course, we were talking about the fire department and the things how we have, with the permission and vote of the people, we have increased the fire millage and capacity. We can go as high as 2.8 mils. We will not need to go that high. And with the police department, police services, we can go to 2.9 mils, but we're settling at 2.622 because we know our fixed costs, and it was the same as last year. So they're essentially, the people have given us permission to raise expenses, but we have found a way to not do so. In that conversation, I think Treasurer Phillips just accidentally suggested, well, if we could divert money to a different place to pay something off, we could. I think it's very safe to say, and everyone should know my position, but mainly understand state law. Library funds are library funds only. They can't go to the fire department, can't go to the police department, can't go to the general fund. And there would never be a way, and I think Trustee Rick Sovol stated it most accurately. Feel free to go back and look at the Zoom meeting to see his statement. But essentially, he said, why in the world would we ever go back and touch or reduce something that's guaranteed and not affected by the Headley Amendment? That money will always be there for the library. I think I apologize. It was a poor example that was used publicly, and I think it was misconstrued what was trying to be demonstrative in statement only. I know I was kind of worried. I spoke with Director Lobert the next day about this, and with the township attorney about this. I'm quite confident our library money is protected statutorily, and it can't be used anywhere else. I would never support the library funding to be used anywhere else other than the library. I will just touch on one other topic, library related. The board's decision to not put a library in, for 3 years, I've argued that the library should be a generator supported area. But to the credit of Mr. Burkheiser, our library has, knock on wood, not lost power. So we've been very blessed that the library, where other parts of town have lost electricity, we have always been solid and steadfast and been that oasis for people to come to have connectivity, even to do breathing treatments. You know, moms and children and parents and children come here to charge a breathing treatment machine and plug in, and we encourage those things. But I do believe that after we get through this COVID emergency, we get a return and some guarantees on our revenue sharing from the state of Michigan, which I can share. The state of Michigan, the legislature has guaranteed that our revenue sharing will continue into 2021 without reduction. So big pluses monetarily, but specifically on library funds, those money, they are set aside and collected for the library. And they'll never be used for anything else.
thank you very much for that, because I was very upset
Me too.
about that. Okay, good. That's two of us. Okay, considering that, does anybody have any recommendations for the Board of Trustees at this time? No? Any other matters? No. Well, would someone, I guess, like to join our,
Lexner makes the
Adjourn.
motion to adjourn the meeting.
If I could interrupt, Barb, before we adjourn,
Sure.
I wasn't quick enough under other matters. I just wanted to share that with the way everything is occurring and the interruptions, and even though we have tried to adapt as quickly as possible with the drive-through window and things like that around town, we did have the State of the Lakes, which normally is a function that many of us would attend. We enjoy breakfast. We get to meet and greet and talk to all the people. We did have virtual State of the Lakes. The monies that were collected from the virtual State of the Lake are being donated to Hospitality House of Commerce Township and Outreach of Waterford Township. We had full participation. I had the pleasure of using one of our Wi-Fi pucks where I was able to call in from the heart of the Hiawatha Forest in Manistee, Michigan, with phenomenal success, to the point where, and just as an example, I went to Byron Township Hall thinking maybe I could sneak a little of their Wi-Fi for connectivity and be part of this meeting successfully. And the fire department and the sheriff's deputies, they left it while I'm holding a meeting, participating in a meeting in my pickup truck. They're leaving notes on my windshield wiper. Whatever the magic is you're using to connect to the internet, please tell us before you leave. We want it. And for those of you who travel or have the need for this, it comes down to about $25 a month, and you can get this portable Wi-Fi hotspot that gives you phenomenal connectivity, really, that would support a pretty large family. So I was very impressed. Worked out really well. We had great participation from Supervisor Gary Wall in Waterford, Supervisor Rick Kowal in White Lake Township, Milford with Supervisor Don Green, Wolverine Lake, Walled Lake. Everyone was there. We had great questions and information. And I haven't looked, but I'm hoping that that's stored on YouTube with the Lakes Area Chamber of Commerce, if anybody chooses to go back and maybe connect with Laura Bolliard and get information to review what that was. But a great time. The other thing that we've got going on is we all know that there's been plenty of charity walk, run, ride functions of that nature. And right now we have a situation where, we still are under a gubernatorial order of not more than 100 people gathering outdoors and not more than 10 people gathering indoors. So there's a lot of questions and concern. Is Outrun Hunger going to be able to have their event in November? Things of that nature. One of the bigger ones, are children going to be able to trick or treat? And we're hoping to get an answer quickly. We've made contact with the governor's office to say, we really do need some guidance. And a lot of subdivisions are reaching out to us, asking if they can use the parking lot at Dodge 5, the library, the Richardson Center, to have a trunk or treat function outside of their community neighborhood. And I guess then lastly, I guess there's a silver lining to every storm. And the state of Michigan notified the county of Oakland. I was participating in a meeting with the county executive's office yesterday. We're going to get 100% of refunding for police and fire and senior services straight time and overtime between March 23rd and June 1st. Essentially, we will see $800,000 come back to our community for expenses that we incurred. But oddly, I have to be honest and say oddly, they're reimbursing us for paying to have police officers and firemen that we would have paid to have police officers and firemen. But Governor Whitmer said she wants us to get this money. So we're going to have an influx of funds. It will go into the general fund. Hopefully they'll be able to earmark some of it for things like a generator for the library, but in things of that nature. The other thing is, if you haven't had a chance to notice, or like Barry has been traveling, he'll be able to watch this in review. We did award the contract to the Daily Construction Company to build our new fire station number 3. The fire department is using the building for training as we speak this evening. So our 8 new firefighters that were funded by a federal grant for 3 years are squirting water, putting out fires, doing close quarters rescue, cutting holes in the roof, working on ladders and in the dark and in the light. So they're getting a lot of training capabilities, but very quickly you'll see that building is going to be demolished and the new fire hall will be working. In the meantime, the staff that was on Welch Road are working out of the Maple Road Walled Lake City Fire Station alongside Walled Lake. They're good neighbors. We get along. We worked well on the Michigan Airline Trail. We're going to work well for almost a calendar year of partnering with Walled Lake in their station. But we support each other every single day in a mutual aid agreement and working famously. One other I'll share just for your being aware. In the last big storm we had, we actually did have a lightning strike hit the Addington condominium complex down at Beck and Pontiac Trail. We had 12 condominiums that were set fire from a lightning strike. The insurance companies are evaluating what can be repaired, what can be rebuilt, what can happen. We were very, very blessed in a situation where we've worked hard to get our fire department staff up. So we have 2 people in every station, at least 2 people in every station 24 hours a day. National fire protection standards say you have to have 5 firefighters to go into a burning building. 1 to run the engine, 2 to enter with water and rescue, and 2 to be ready to respond to rescue those firefighters if they need it. Prior to 2016, we never had 5 on duty. Today, when this fire, or last month when this fire occurred, we had 8 full-time firefighters on duty. We were able to respond. We were able to save the building. It doesn't have to be a demolition. It will be a repair and a rebuild. We did receive mutual aid from Novi, Walled Lake, White Lake quite efficiently. Sadly, for 5 years, the city of Wixom has not responded to a request for mutual aid. It's not because they don't love us. It's not because they're not good neighbors. They only have 2 full-time firefighters, and they have a very small contingent of paid-on-call firefighters. So they can't send all the resources out of their town to help us if they don't have anyone to stay in town to help their own people. But the benefit of our increased staffing since 2016 was demonstrated in this fire scenario. We're hoping that we can continue on. Everything will be fine. And the last thing I just wanted to remind, 2 people recently passed away. One a little bit more than a month ago. Jim Curry spent 95 and a half years of his life on Marshall C. Street in the Peninsula Park subdivision off of Union Lake Road. He was a World War II veteran. He made it to his 100th birthday. The sheriff and the fire department put on quite a parade for him on his 100th birthday. Sadly, Mr. Jim Curry has passed away. And another absolute honored member of our community was a Vietnam veteran, voluntary, Jerry Beagle. Jerry Beagle grew up in Commerce Township. He's lived here his whole life, except when he went away to serve our country as a volunteer Vietnam veteran in the U.S. Army. He came from a family that ran heavy equipment and excavators. He went into the U.S. Army and drove a bulldozer in Vietnam and was able to make it home. Sadly, Jerry Beagle has recently passed away. Condolences to both of these honored veterans and their family for all they have done. But 2 people I think all of us may have seen in the grocery store, passed on the street. Maybe we didn't know their names, but they were part of our lives every day here, and sad to see they've passed. But thank you for letting me elongate that, and we'll get a second to Shane's motion there.
Thank you. Thank you, Dave. Okay. Would someone like to second Shane's motion to adjourn the meeting?
I second it.
Okay. All right, Cindy, I guess we need to have roll call. Are you there?
She's coming.
Lackner,
Yes.
LaFond,
Yes.
Garbutt,
Yes.
Pernick,
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, I guess we'll see all of you next month. And we'll hope that things are better and we can meet in person, I hope.
Yes.
I hope so.
Thank you all. Thank you, Brian from Merge Live, for being our moderator and assisting us.
Yes, of course. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, see you soon.
Okay. So long.